What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to TTB Ravens Media. But this is, of course, the Trust the Bank podcast. If you've never listened to the Trust the Bank podcast or seen us on the TTB Ravens Media YouTube channel, what this is myself and Joshua. We basically do a podcast every single week, and the segments are all uploaded on YouTube. So if you're seeing it on YouTube, this is the first segment of this week's episode. The three segments, what we'll be talking about will be obviously the title of this video, how can Lamar Jackson win the MVP? The next segment, we'll be talking about T. Martin and Keith Williams. And then finally, we'll talk about the biggest threats in the AFC. Now, if you want to listen to all of those segments right now and kind of get ahead, go check out the Spotify or the Apple Podcast platforms and, just look up Trust the Bank. And the podcast will be right up there. It does have a different logo than the YouTube channel. It just says Trust the Bank Baltimore Ravens Podcast. That would be the one. Make sure to go check it out on there. If you're listening on there, give us a rating, give us a review. And if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and comment your thoughts and opinions. But I said it before, the title of this video, how can Lamar Jackson win the MVP, his second MVP? Now, the requirement for this does not mean he has to be a unanimous MVP again. He just needs to win the MVP. How exactly could that happen? Joshua, why don't you go first? What do you think he would need to do in the Ravens as a team? Because, it's not just an individual award. Your team has to be good. What do you think? How can Lamar win the MVP this year?
Man, just for the simple fact that, that 2019 season, that was a special season. First time, not first time being under the helm, starting the whole season. It was a beautiful thing, We actually saw the Ravens organization, especially the offensive side of the ball, actually work towards Lamar Jackson's skills. And, he took the league by storm. Nobody's seen the pistol formation in a long time, especially in the NFL. If anything is, shotgun, I formation, single back, three wide receivers. And, we did a lot of 13 personnel. We ran our three tight ends. So, we had a special run. Now, in order for this special, unique young man to get that MVP again, I don't think the rushing yards is going to matter. I think it's all going to come down to his arm and how many touchdowns he puts up. I know it's crazy, but he may have to have a 3,000. I would say a 3,000 plus yard season. Possibly another 30 plus touchdowns. If he goes maybe about 800 rushing yards and about 5-6 touchdowns on the rushing tip and secure another a playoff berth, I feel like he definitely can win MVP. It's just a matter of how he does it and who he uses. I feel like with the camaraderie and him getting to know his wide receivers, his favorite tight end, his new weapons, and Sammy Watkins and Rashad Bateman, I definitely feel like those men can help him get to where he wants to be. Between J.K. Dobbins, Mark Andrews, and I believe Lamar Jackson, correct me if I'm wrong, their rankings in the the PFF, they took a hit, and I don't understand why they're taking hits when these young men have been performing. So, hey, everybody has that chip on their shoulder, especially Lamar Jackson, and these guys all all good. These guys on the offensive side of the ball love playing for him and love making him the special player that he is, and he loves his guys. So I definitely feel like this is going to be another special season. Bad enough we had to come back and play and work our way into the playoffs last year, but I definitely feel like we're going to make it to the playoffs. Another 3,000 plus yard passing season with another 30 plus touchdown, and Marquise actually he got to hit that 1,000 yard. He got to hit that 1,000 yard season. So I definitely feel like that's got to happen. That's got to happen.
Yeah, so I've been very excited about this this topic. This is my favorite topic, probably in sports, the MVP. And I do apologize. Sorry, I do have a cough. Obviously, I did cough while Joshua was talking. I do apologize, Joshua. Hopefully, I don't have to cough very much during this episode. I'll try and mute. But yeah, that thing, whatever. But overall, the MVP is my favorite thing to talk about. MVP, I don't know if there's a term for it. I call it MVP theory. The art of winning the MVP, the art of predicting the MVP. I'm a massive fan of it. Last year, I was very, very spot on with my MVP predictions, so I do know what I'm talking about. After week 4, I guaranteed Russell Wilson would not be winning the MVP. I said it wouldn't happen. I said he wasn't even the MVP. At that point, I said it was Patrick Mahomes. At about week 8, I said Patrick Mahomes will not win the MVP. This is, of course, when everybody shifted from the Russ to Patrick Mahomes, and I said, no, it's not going to be Russ. Or Russ or Mahomes, it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. And I stuck out with Aaron Rodgers for the rest of the season. Look who won the MVP. It was Aaron Rodgers. And this is because the MVP award, unfortunately, it is narrative-based. It's not statistically based in the end, but a lot of times it is narrative-based, and especially in the NBA. But looking towards the NFL, you have to build that narrative at the right time. It's a game, okay? The voting is reliant on the biggest thing is primetime. You have to perform well in primetime. Look at what the Ravens have, 5 primetime games. They have opportunities to play in primetime. That's huge for them. They obviously start off early in primetime. They play Kansas City. Playing Kansas City early helps Lamar's case if the Ravens lose to the Chiefs in the regular season. If they lose in primetime to Kansas City in week 14, chances are he probably isn't going to win the MVP anymore. But if you lose to Kansas City week 2 in primetime, nobody's going to remember that. Aaron Rodgers played the Packers obviously he plays for the Packers. Aaron Rodgers played the Buccaneers early in the season and looked horrible. Horrible. Everybody was like, is Aaron Rodgers bad now? And it was like, that did not matter because the MVP is reliant so much on the narrative that is built typically week 8 towards the end of the season, kind of making that push to the playoffs. And you look at what the Ravens have to do, a difficult schedule pushing towards the playoffs. They're going to be playing the Browns twice. They're playing the Steelers, big time rivalry. They're playing I think one of the best teams in the NFC, the LA Rams. They're also playing they're playing the Packers, big question marks at quarterback. But could be a massive game. These types of things help to build the narrative and the storyline of the MVP. The other issue with the MVP, however, is expectations. Okay, this is why it is so difficult for players to repeat as MVP. You look at the perfect analysis is to the NBA. They're very similar. The most valuable player award is very similar in the NFL to the NBA. The best player doesn't win every year. Doesn't happen. You look at Russell Westbrook, okay? Russell Westbrook in 2016, 2017 did something nobody ever thought would ever be done again. He averaged a triple-double in the NBA. He won the MVP. He did the same thing the next 2 years. Triple-double, triple-double. Boom. He did it this year. Averaged a triple-double. Wasn't even in the MVP conversation because people came to expect it. When you look at Patrick Mahomes came out, and when he won the MVP, he threw like 50 touchdowns, and he nearly threw for 5,000 yards. I think it was just under 5,000 yards in his MVP season. Well, if Patrick Mahomes wants to win the MVP, he's got to get up to those expectations. He's not going to be able to just throw, what most quarterbacks would consider unbelievable. He's going to have to do something and be better than what he did last time. And Lamar Jackson, what the expectations are is, one, the Ravens are going to be good. So it's not going to be something where you can go in and be like, oh, wow, the Ravens are so much better than they expected. No, the Ravens people expect them to be good. They expect them to be a contender. So to break those expectations would be like, you would probably have to be a top 2 seed in the AFC. Absolutely possible. And then in terms of Lamar Jackson, people expect him to rush for 1,000 yards. But that isn't going to be required to win the MVP because the expectations for him throwing the ball is so low. It's really a baseline of just 3,000 yards is what people would expect. If he throws for 3,600, if he throws for over 30 touchdowns, Joshua, like you brought up, that could absolutely help if he's able to be dominant in doing so. And the other thing is the perception of what's around you is massive in terms of the MVP conversation. When you look at the Kansas City Chiefs last year, you look at Mahomes and it's like, oh, wow, Mahomes is playing so well. Well, he's got Tyreek Hill, he's got Travis Kelce, both putting up ridiculous. Like they were both at many points like top 3 in leading yards in the NFL. And it was like, well, these guys, Mahomes has these guys. Well, Rodgers is doing this. Devontae Adams was hurt a significant amount of time. However, when Adams played, he was dominant. But you see Marquez Valdez-Scantling dropping passes all the time. And it's like, oh, Rodgers has to play with this guy? You see, who the heck is Robert Tonyan? Who is this guy? How is he balling out with him? All these types of things are able to help his case because people are like, they don't expect anything out of those guys. And Rodgers was able to get the best out of them. Now, this year, if Rodgers is even playing in Green Bay, they're going to expect higher out of those players. So with Lamar, it helps because you look at it and people are like, his number one wide receiver is Hollywood. People outside of the Ravens think Hollywood sucks. This helps Lamar's MVP case. Now, it is annoying because Hollywood doesn't suck, but people think that. And the perception of Lamar's weapons is that they're not that good. Yes, people think Mark Andrews is good. But we saw PFF's rankings. They think Kyle Pitts is better. People think Darren Waller is better. People think Travis Kelce, Zach Ertz are better. And I'm sorry, not Zach Ertz, George Kittle. I don't know why I said Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz not better than Mark Andrews. But Mark Andrews is seen as like a top 6. He's kind of like that second tier of tight end. And that's good, but it's not great. Then you look at the running backs. Gus Edwards, people don't see as very good. They see him as solid. J.K. Dobbins, yes, Ravens fans, we like to say he's the best rookie running back. I firmly believe he was. However, most people would be like, oh, it's Jonathan Taylor. Oh, it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I don't know why they say that, but they say it. Or they say something like, oh, it's DeAndre Swift. Things like that. I would disagree, but it helps the Ravens' case. People don't see the Ravens' weapons as nearly as high. And they're like, and you look at the narrative. Well, they lost Orlando Brown Jr. They didn't get Julio. All of these types of things are playing into the narrative that the Ravens' offense isn't going to be as good. And yes, we drafted Rashad Bateman, a rookie. And overall, I think that does hurt in terms of the weapons. However, it is a rookie. It's not like if they took Jamar Chase, then it'd be like, okay, well, they got Jamar Chase. It depends on what they put up. I think that there is a good chance that Lamar wins MVP just because of the expectations of the players around him as well as the expectations for Lamar. But people do think Lamar is going to dominate in the regular season. So unless he dominates and gets that 1 seed, he just has to play well. At the middle to the end of the season, if he balls out in prime time, because we have a lot of primetime games this year, ball out in prime time, lead your team to the number 1 seed in the AFC, and be statistically really good. He doesn't have to break the rushing record. I mean, he might actually because we have an increased amount of games. He doesn't have to break his his personal touchdown record of 36. He just has to be dominant, and he has to hope that other players with lower expectations don't play up to that level. Because if a guy like Dak Prescott comes out and has similar numbers to Lamar, it would be like, oh, wow, in terms of like impressiveness, not like Dak's not rushing for 1,100 yards. That type of thing, it would be like, oh, well, Dak, he raised, the bar was here for Dak and it was here for Lamar. Well, Dak went here and Lamar went here. Lamar barely went up. Dak really shifted up and down. So they're like, oh, that's more impressive. So then Dak ends up winning it. It's similar to like what Josh Allen did last year versus Lamar. Pretty similar. Both dominant, both very good. But the expectations for Josh Allen were way lower. So it seemed more impressive that he was able to do that. Those are my thoughts on the MVP. I could make millions and millions of hours talking about MVP theory. That is what I love to talk about. I talk about it all the time. That is what I want to do. I'll probably talk about it a lot on the FTN podcast when that gets started up and things like that. But overall, Joshua, do you have anything else to add on the Lamar Jackson MVP?
I mean, man, you hit it on the nail, honestly, especially with the narrative part. I didn't even think of it like that because it's going in. This offseason has been it's been a little shaky for us. But now, even thinking about even going into the season, like you said, Sammy Watkins, Hollywood Brown, Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle, Patrick Ricard, you know, this whole offensive line doesn't even really have any type of. The only people that's really played together is Bozeman and Ronnie Stanley. You got 3 new faces, so it's definitely fun. Everybody does see us as a contender, which is okay. But I still feel like it's a sleeper pick. We're still like a sleeper pick in a sense. So it makes life easier for the Ravens. It makes life easier for Lamar. And you could tell that he's going to have fun this year. I mean, he's just a joy to be around. So I'm looking forward. I'm definitely hoping he wins the MVP. If he doesn't, I'll be more happy with Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah, Super Bowl MVP, definitely the main goal. But I feel like that's a pretty good spot to wrap up this segment. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to Daily Ravens content, all that kind of thing.